Okay, this is a short video on removing flare nuts, and this is fuel filter on a 93 Civic, and I just want to show you here where I couldn't get this flare nut to come off. I was using this 14mm flare wrench, and I can't get the flare nuts on there right now because of this hose, but you can see that the flare nut is rounded off. And what happened was this flare wrench applies pressure really on all sides of the nut, but when you try to apply maximum amount of torque on this, these jaws actually are forced apart and they can still round off the nut. That's how tight this type of nut can be on. And in this case, I didn't want to risk basically breaking the line in an uncontrolled way that might be hard to repair. So what I did in this case was I actually just took a hacksaw. I cut the line at this point. Then I just used a regular socket and removed this nut. Okay. So that's the deal on that. Now I want to show you I had the same problem recently, and I was able to actually get it removed by using a slightly different technique. So let me show you that. Okay, this is another 14mm flare nut, only this is on a 97 Corolla fuel pump. I had exactly the same problem here. I could not get this off, and I had the same problem rounding off the nut. Only in this time I was able to get some advice off the internet, and that was on how to use a pair of vice grips to prevent these jaws from spreading. So I'm going to put this on pause, and then I'm going to show you how the vice grips go on. Okay, the vice grips, you just crank down on the two sides of the jaws and it backs it up. It's as if you had a bigger, stronger flare wrench. And that can keep the jaws from spreading, so you can actually apply more torque now. In this particular case, I still couldn't get this to budge based on primarily the length of this. Is a fairly small wrench, and I used all my strength. I couldn't get it. I use a different technique that I've also seen on the internet, and that is how to lock on a one of these, what do they call them, box-ended wrenches, onto the end of an open face wrench. And then this is remarkably effective because these wrenches are very strong. They don't flex. And I was actually able now in this case to actually get this out. I did use heat from a heat gun in order to accomplish that. I also tried a lot of the PB Blaster. I actually tried the wax technique, and I tried brushing off as much of the rust on the exposed threads as I could. But at the very end, I did use that extra leverage, and I gave it all I had. And I was able to get the mechanical leverage to actually get this off without breaking it. So I was lucky, and that was a W. Thanks. Now, I just thought I'd finish up this video with a comparison between two different flare nut wrenches. This is mine, Great Neck. It's not the best brand, but it's worked so far for me. But I did have the problem with the jaws opening up, so I thought maybe a higher quality brand might be stronger and not require that vice grip trick, because of course you need to have enough room to get those vice grips in, and that won't work in all cases. It worked in this last case for me. I was cleaning out a friend of mine's, his shop, because he passed away. I noticed, I took a look at his set of flare wrenches. It's a Craftsman. And I looked at that and I noticed, because I was checking to see whether it might be stronger, but what I noticed is it didn't actually have all 6 points. It's only got 4 of the 6 points on the nut. So I would expect that that's not going to do as good a job as my great neck, because I know that applying torque to that nut, it's going to engage it at each of the corners, and this has got those extra 2 corners. So maybe that as you're rotating one direction, it only works on possibly one of these 2 corners and maybe not the other one. That extra corner might not buy you anything. But in my opinion, this more effectively surrounds the nut, and it's going to be a better job. But of course, this is not a comparison because I'm not going to do a test case. I was just curious about this. It'd be nice to know if a more expensive tool maybe wouldn't open up as much, but I really have no way to do that right now. So, thanks.